everyone. Welcome to episode 72. That's right, William Perry the Fridge tribute episode, I guess, for those of us who lived in the 80s. Remember the Chicago Bears Super Bowl win. I'm Chris DT Gordon. It's great to have you here with me today. And Nate and Britton Barron, thank you so much for your talent on the post-production side. If you want them to work their magic on your projects, just reach out to them at Nate Barron. Well, as we get into the school year here, we are coming back from a trying time with the pandemic, and that just keeps on top of the other issues we all have to deal with, especially high schoolers and young adults. If you want me to talk about the attitude of gratitude and increase your positivity and gratitude, please reach out to me at chrisdtgordon.com or linktr.ee chrisdtgordon. Well, today I'm joined by my new friend and fellow speaker, Duncan Kirkwood. Duncan, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me.
It is my pleasure. And Duncan, again, I said this before we started recording. Thank you for your service. Duncan is a retired military officer?
Correct.
In what branch?
Alabama Army National Guard.
Excellent. I have a good friend who's a captain in the Guard, and I thank him for his service often. He's a great guy, and I'm excited to talk with you about your service because it is integral to our conversation. As I said, you and I are both speakers. I use my story of contracting and recovering from necrotizing fasciitis or flesh-eating bacteria, but you speak on behalf of you working with people with issues to overcome. So I would love you to tell us about that.
Yeah, so what I have done through my time in the military and my time as a speaker, a community activist, a leader, I have mastered the art of getting the most out of people's potential. So that's kind of like my jam, right? I help people become the best versions of themselves. And that really started when I joined the military. When I was serving in the Alabama Army National Guard, what happened was in 2012, there were more soldiers that died from suicide than died in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. So with the military, they already had these like suicide prevention programs and resilience programs, but they really ramped them up after that, once that data point kind of came out. Wow. So I was kind of one of those officers that became trained to be a master resilience trainer. And so then I would go to different units to help soldiers to understand how to be more resilient, overcome setbacks, be more mentally tough and mentally agile.
So, sorry, I have a question about that. You might get into this. When you go into those units, were there one or two, I guess, the triggers or one or two causes of these issues of depression? Or did you find that there was a wide range of causes for this issue?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And we'll just get into it now. So, all right. So on one side, the military resilience training is very do this. It'll build your resilience, right? It's kind of a proactive approach to like use these skills, understand how to break out of thinking traps and respond versus react. You know, all these very, very good concrete things you can do and ways you can think to make you more resilient, okay? Mm-hmm. But what I learned after I left the military, and I did a lot of self-development with around work like Stephen Pressfield, Stephen Covey, Ospensky, Eckhart Tolle, Paulo Coelho, is that being resilient, there's so much more to it, right? You got to understand who you are. You got to understand what your purpose is, all this good stuff. So after all of that self stuff and the military stuff, I put it all together in a book that the average person could use to become more resilient. And for the military, I was able to identify what I believe is the number one reason that veterans struggle leaving the military. And the same thing is with police officers, same thing is with firemen, anybody who's in this kind of service, life at risk type of space. The thing that I have found that is the biggest challenge for them to overcome is their ego.
Really?
And yes, but not listen, hold on, let me stop so everybody understands. I don't mean ego in the way that everybody uses ego, like ego meaning cocky or narcissistic or any. No, that's not what ego actually means.
Okay.
Ego is how you identify yourself in comparison to other selves. So your ego identifies your personal value as a person, and it ties it to things and titles and roles.
So it's quite the opposite of what we think of ego is. When we think of, like you talked about before, being narcissistic, I'm so great, look at me. You're talking about ego as in how can I be good compared to all these other people? What do I have to offer?
Not even so much how can you be good, how much value do you have? Mm-hmm. So if somebody is really insecure, they've got an ego. Somebody's really cocky, they've got an ego. Somebody likes the attention, they got ego. Somebody hates the attention. I mean, everybody has an ego. Your ego is the thing that tells you that you're special because you've got a degree, or that you're a better person because you got on fancy sneakers, right? That's your ego connects who you are to things and titles and roles. So in the military or in the police officer, with the police officers or the fire departments, people connect their value, who they are, to these jobs, right? And the military is the best at stripping away who you are and putting in how to be a soldier, right? So that's what makes our military so amazing. It's like muscle memory. Something happens, you know exactly what to do. You can put that M16 together with a blindfold on. Bam, bam, bam. You're ready to go. You know how to pull security, right? All the things that you need to do as a soldier, they make it muscle memory. It becomes who you are, right? Then you add to that the trauma of war or battle or anything. So then you got all that, right? Then you leave the military and they're like, hey, thank you for your service. Here's a couple of awards. Have a great life. Well, now that piece of you, how you identified your value as a person, has been ripped out of your life. So now you're lost. You're feeling like this pain, this void that nothing can fill, because who you are, how you identified who you were, is now gone. So what I have to do when I train people and I do these workshops, I let them know that who you are has nothing to do with your job. It has nothing to do with your title, your role, what kind of house you got. Who you are is so much deeper and stronger and more connected and valuable than any of that stuff. Now listen, being a soldier is an honorable, incredible job. Being a police officer, fire, these are some of the great heroes in our community. But who you are is more than that job title. So that is what I have found has been the most effective at getting people to stop that, having that pain of loss from being separated from who they believe they are.
So what is one or two ways that someone can at least start that process? Because you're right, the military does a great job of removing that individuality so you can become part of a unit. So how do you reverse that, that situation?
So part of it is you got to start to become present, right? So the challenge is that your ego needs time too, right? So your ego, to survive, it has to hold on to time. So last year I was doing this, or last time I got this praise, or in the future my life will be better, right? Your ego has to connect to some type of time. So the way that you kind of start to cut through that is to just be present in this moment. Who am I right now in this moment? So I have like some exercises I walk people through to understand how right now in this moment, you are you. This is what being is like. So it's like if you're in the forest for 3 days, or if you're at the beach and the water rushes across your ankles, in that moment, you're totally present. Or if you're on a roller coaster and you take that drop, right? In those moments, you are here alive in a real moment. It's when your mind starts wandering and you're sad that you're not this anymore, or you're upset that you don't have this responsibility, or you're still thinking of this horrible thing that happened years ago. So focusing people's attention into what can you do right now to bring yourself joy or peace or love, and then do that thing, right? So whatever that is, and then do it, right? So figure it out and then do it. And that's how you can start to cut through a lot of that. Because as soon as your mind starts wandering, your mind will start, oh man, I remember when I was in my unit and we did this, or oh, I missed my battle buddy and this happened, or oh man, this person died, or oh, my wife this, or my husband that. And all of a sudden your mind starts. But if you focus on the right now, what problems do you have right now, in this moment, right now? You gotta think for a second. Like, what problems are you? Gotta figure it out, right? That's your mind trying to. But if you don't let your mind start wandering and trying to wonder what's all your problems, figure out what can you do right now to bring yourself some peace. If you got a bill you got to pay, what can you do right now? Nothing. Okay, then you can't. Then you don't need to think about it. If there's nothing you can do, you don't need to stress about it, right? But if what you can do is try to find a job, get on Indeed, right? Start typing on Indeed, right? So if you can do something, do it. If you can't, you can't. But focus on the now. Sorry, I know that's a long answer, but I'm a speaker. You know what I mean?
No, that's what I want. I want you to show us your craft and help us out here. And that's fantastic. So I am in my office. And so to be present, you help me out here. I can maybe see what, take notice of what I'm looking at, right?
So if you were by yourself, yes. Yep. But because you're here with me, being present looks like you listening. Okay. And really connecting. Okay. Right? Because like not listening to respond, right? Like not listening so then you can, okay, what's my next question? No, really hearing me, really connecting with the other person. That's how you be present with another person. And it's funny because whenever you do that, that's when like people like, you like fall in love after one night of talking to somebody, like back when you were in college and stuff, or you went to a conference or something. That's because you both are being so present in that moment. It's like this incredible feeling that changes you, right? And so I'm not saying me and you should be working on falling in love, that's not, I'm married. And
you're a beautiful person, Duncan. I may not be able to help myself. So
but what I'm saying is when you're talking to another person, if you truly connect with them, and then at the end you say, so Chris, are you saying this? You'll actually see the other person do this. Yes. Right? Like they're actually like this weight comes off their shoulders because someone heard them and connected, right? It's so rare that it causes a physical reaction, right? So like that's how you can be present with another person. And it's powerful. That's how you build real connections.
That's, seeing that validation is as you said, life-changing. And so, so we can be present with someone, we can, as you said, listen so they can be heard. What's another way? Because I don't want you to give us all your tricks, but at least, one more we can maybe take away from the session.
Yeah. So most people use the present moment as a bridge to the moment that they want to get to. It's like to some imaginary future moment, right? So for example, if I'm driving to work, right, my 20-minute drive to work is a transition between me leaving home and getting to where I'm going, right? So I'm kind of like a zombie while I'm driving to work, right? Like I'm just kind of on autopilot and I'm just going through the motions and I get there and I start work. Then you get to work, and work really is a transition to the weekend, right? Until you get, or the night when you get back to your family, or you have dinner, something like that, right? And then you have a little time, you go to sleep. Well, if that's your day, it's a really crappy day, right? But being present, if you are truly present, on your way to work, you notice the signs, you hear the sounds, you put on some music you like, you have a little party in your car, you singing karaoke, right? Then all of a sudden, when you get to work, your energy is so different because you've used that time, that 20-minute drive, that was their own mini little party. Then when you get to work, you're not just there getting through the day to make it to 5 o'clock so you can check, clock out and make it to the weekend. You actually find some joy in what you're doing at work. Like figure out how can you be the best employee, the best boss, the best colleague to everyone all the time. How can you do things that's going to make your company better, make you better, right? And if you do that, now when you get off of work, you're not drained and like feeling like crap. You're feeling incredible. You're like, man, I had a great day today. Nothing special even happened. You just manifested it into a great day. So now when you get home to your kids or your wife or husband or whatever, whatever, you got such incredible energy. Now when you go to sleep at night, you're like, oh man, this was a really good day. Now, if you do that 7 days, that's a great week. You do that 4 weeks, that's a great month. 12 months, now you got a really great life. And absolutely nothing has changed, but except for how you perceive and interact with the world. But that's internal work we've got to do. We've got to stop using the present moment as just transit. I'm not on this podcast thinking, okay, when this is over, I got another Zoom tonight, then I got to do this. No, I'm here with you, Chris. I'm excited to be here, right? Like we're in this moment together. We're going to have an ideas exchange. I'm talking to some great listeners. So that's how you need to bring that energy into everything, even if you've got a lot going on.
So making intentional choices during those actions, even as you said, during that drive, making those observations at work, making those strong connections, being present with your coworkers.
Absolutely.
So that's, it is that simultaneously simple yet profound, because you're right. I mean, we are tied to our emotions. And if we tie moments to positive emotional situations, it's going to make that situation more memorable and more precious.
That's right.
And so I totally, I'm catching what you're throwing, basically, Duncan. I mean, that's fantastic. And so I want to know one particular moment where someone really took what you taught and ran with it and just, became another person, basically.
Okay, that's a great question. So I have there was this community activist, okay? And he was struggling with a couple other community activists. Like they were all like, button heads, fighting for news coverage, who's better, I don't know, like just kind of office politics, but it was like different organizations, right?
Ego.
Yeah, 100%. And so I taught him how to really listen, right? Like the power of active listening. We spent like an hour and I trained him how to do it like a Jedi, okay? And so he took this massive Jedi listening and he went to a community event where these other organizers and community activists were there. And he Jedi listened to them so ferociously that by the time they left, they were all best friends. They're all working together. They're trading business cards. They're looking for ways to collaborate. And to this day, they still work together because when you really listen, not like a little bit of listen, when you really listen to another person, you actually take an interest in who they are and you unpack those layers and you're not just asking probing questions. You're actually listening with your energy, with your attention, with everything you got. There's a connection that's made that is incredibly strong. And he did it, right? And so he, because of that, was elevated in the community because now he's got all these networks. So now all these other nonprofits were like reaching out to him like, hey, can we work with you? Can we contract with you? You want to consult for us? Because now he's holding all these relationships, all because he mastered the art of really listening and being present with other people. And so that's one just kind of, off the cuff story of somebody who really got it and immediately applied it and started immediately seeing results.
That's a nice cuff to take that off of, because that's a great story. And as you're talking about that, the thought of, the more you give, the more you receive came into mind, because he learned that I need to give my attention to these people. I need to, as you said, listen like a Jedi. And because of that, he now has, gained, I'm guessing a lot of business and a lot of positive clout within the society, within his social circles because of that.
That's right.
So that's fantastic. I'm very excited for him. And as you were talking, like you said earlier, that listening, I was keyed in to the story so much I started leaning forward. And so that was great. So what do you have going on in the near future, or what do you have going on right now, Duncan? I know that we're getting back into live events, speaking wise. Are you doing a lot of those? Or are you still doing a lot of virtual work?
A little bit of both. The world is opening up. So I got a couple, live events coming up. I've got a big 3-day conference I'm teaching. I'm doing at this private school on resilience here in Buffalo. Got a speech I'm doing for Albany State University down in Georgia. I'm doing another resilience conference keynote for the University of North Georgia in September, going to Utah to speak for an amazing organization in July. And then I'm probably going to be back in Utah about 30 or 40 times through the fall to speak to different schools, working on a partnership with the Buffalo Bills Foundation.
Nice.
I'm trying to get them, fingers crossed, right, to buy 10,000 copies of my book to provide to youth across Western New York. So, just lots of things are happening. I'm very fortunate that people want to hear my message, that the book has been well received, that I'm able to help people. I've got so many stories and testimonies of people saying, man, I was just thinking about giving up. I never looked at it that way. I never thought about it that way. Oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. Like people, because we're born into a broken world, and like everything about society tells us we're not good enough, we're not smart enough, we don't make enough, we'll be better if, right, if we buy this, if we own this, if we look like this, if we work out, if we would, like, everything about society tells us we're not good enough, right? So that affects people differently. But once you learn like how that's all BS, right? Like once I can really explain to people how like you're not broken, the society is broken, and let me connect you to who you really are, there's like this massive weight off of people's shoulders. Like when people are like so afraid of failure, right? Because it's embarrassing. It's like, oh man, I tried and I failed. But once you understand, number one, failure is part of the process. There's no avoiding it. If you're going to be successful, you have a bunch of failures. Well, that changes your relationship with failure, right? Because you're either going to be successful or you're going to fail and learn something, and it's going to help you to be successful. So it's only, those two things, right? But then also understanding that the wins or the failures have no effect on your value as a person, right? Like understanding that when you get those two concepts, you don't look at anything the same anymore. So I have like a lot, like I got like a whole workshop. I like really drill those concepts. And it makes me feel good that my job, my full-time job is getting that type of message to young people, to, professionals, young professionals, even senior level professionals, because everybody can learn resilience. So anyway, again, long answer, but that's what I got working on. That's what I'm working on now.
That's a great answer. And speaking of the book, what is that book called?
It's called Rerouting, Resilience, Tools, and Tactics. And they can get that on Amazon, but I prefer to get it from my website, DuncanKirkwood.com, so I can sign a copy for them. I also have like resilience dog tags. Do I have any over here? No. That say, I have purpose, I am present, I love myself, I won't quit. So they're like army dog tags, but they have this resilience message. They get that at DuncanKirkwood.com. I named the book Rerouting because I tell people to live your life like a GPS. So when you program a route in a GPS, if you make a wrong turn or your car breaks down, the GPS doesn't, get on social media and start crying. The GPS doesn't quit. It just says rerouting. And as long as you're willing to keep moving forward, it will chart you a course to your destination. So I tell people, live your life like that. And also, the GPS only gives you one turn at a time. So you don't have to know every turn to get to your destination. All you have to do is focus on the next step. And if you live your life like that, you'll always find success.
I usually ask guests to give our listeners at least one piece of advice they can take from our conversation. And that was a great one. Always be rerouting, always look for the next step to take. And if you go down to a dead end, just what do you do now? What's your next step?
That's it.
So that's beautiful, Duncan. You said that your website is DuncanKirkwood.com. Any other places people can find you?
Yeah, they can follow me on social media. Pretty much all social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is at Duncan Kirkwood. LinkedIn at Duncan Kirkwood. TikTok, Duncan Kirkwood Speaks. Follow me for updates, where I'm always posting, motivational videos or access to free conferences, virtual or in person. So, follow me on this journey and let's touch as many lives as possible.
That sounds like a great idea. And one more question, Duncan, what is your favorite dinosaur?
So absolutely, it's a velociraptor.
Okay, why velociraptor?
So when I was younger, I watched Jurassic Park with my mom. Loved the movie. Okay, I don't know, I might have been 12, 13, I don't know. I just loved this movie. And the velociraptors, they were like hunting in packs. It was just like this, they were like the feature, for most of the movie, like Predator. It was like awesome. So then I loved the movie so much. My mom said, well, the book is even better. Now, at that time in my life, I didn't like reading. Okay, I didn't read for fun when I was that age. And so this book was thick too. It wasn't like no normal. It was ginormous. Okay,
I read it too. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, but I read it, and so I never forgot that scenario of how it led me into reading watching that movie and getting all excited about these velociraptors. So that's my dinosaur.
That's fantastic. And I really love the connection you made to, reading and, finding out your love of another, media from movies. And that's great. And you're right. The book is better than the movie. So Duncan, thank you so much again for your service and for what you're doing for others to help them become resilient. I greatly appreciate it, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. And folks, remember what Duncan said. You just need to take one step at a time. Even if it's a dead end, reroute, go that next step, and that will get you back on the right track. And with that, I want to thank you everyone for joining me today. You can find me again at linktr.ee/Chris DT Gordon, or you can email me at chrisdtgordon@gmail.com. Please like, subscribe, share these episodes because Duncan needs to be heard. He has a great message. He's a fantastic speaker and he could change so many lives, but let's help him out with that. So share this episode with as many people as you can. And one more time, thank you for joining me today. Please have a great day. Remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.